Good morning, darlings. Okay, this is the big one. This is your assessment. I'm going to start out by being really stern and saying this absolutely must be submitted. You can either type this up and put it into the submissions folder, or you can type this up and email it to me, but there is no way that you cannot do this assessment. Okay, so I appreciate this is going to be a massive task for you guys, but I wouldn't give it to you if I didn't think that you could do it. Now, conflict in Romeo and Juliet. How does Shakespeare present ideas about conflict in Romeo and Juliet? This is going to be your question title. Now, ordinarily, we'd give you an extract to look at, and then you would compare that, you would analyse that, and then look at other examples of conflict in the rest of the play as well. I'm not going to do that because it's up to you to pick which one you want to do. Fight scene. Fight scene. But there are plenty of different types of conflict in Romeo and Juliet, and you guys know about the different types of conflict because you've done the poetry. So you know that there is external with somebody else, internal with oneself, wanting to do something but can't, or not wanting to do something but having to, ideas and beliefs, or behavioral norms. Okay, now there are loads of examples of all four of those in Romeo and Juliet, and we did some right at the very beginning. If you remember, we did some right at the very beginning about the different types of conflict wherever it was. We did some about the different types of conflict in Romeo and Juliet wherever it was. We did some, and my screen's gone all squiffy, but yeah. Okay, so anyway, there's different types of conflict in Romeo and Juliet. The internal stuff, you might look at Juliet. The external stuff, you might look at the feud. Ideas and beliefs, you might look at all the hubris stuff that we've done. Social norms, going behind your parents' back to get married, perhaps. Stuff like that, you know. So there are plenty of different types of conflict, and it's up to you to prioritize which ones you want to write about. So we'll have a look at Helpful Harvey and see what he says. Oh, really cute, bless him. So Helpful Harvey says there are 4 things that you need to do. 1, plan your answer, break down the question, and establish what it's asking you to do. So we're talking about how does Shakespeare present ideas about conflict in Romeo and Juliet. So the ideas that what we've got to do first is find where the conflict is, what kinds of conflict there are, and where they are in the play. And you can use No Fear Shakespeare for this. You can use your own plays for this. Diethan Baker's in the background. He's telling you to do that. I'm sure you can hear him. Okay, so you can find the different types of conflict. You can find which are most prevalent and which are the most significant, and then decide that you might want to write about those. And then you've got to think about what Shakespeare thinks about those things. What is he commenting on? Is he saying they're bad? Is he saying there's no place for them in society? Is he saying they only lead to bad things? What is he saying? Is he saying they're brilliant? Keep going. What is he saying? And then you need to think about how he does that. So the methods used, as he used metaphors, as he used rhyme, as he used iambic pentameter, as he used a rhyming couplet, as he used a piece of prose where it's non-rhyming because it's so serious, as he used a particular verb, for example, that might have certain connotations or secondary levels. Remember, we have to be literary archaeologists. We have to dig deeper in the texts. So how does he do it as your method stuff, okay? So I've already said you find the most prominent examples in the play, which answer the question and support your opinion. Start with those, because if you run out of time, at least you've done the most important bits, okay? And then number 3, you need to ensure you've fully analysed AO2, which is your methods, which I was just talking about. And AO3, this is your audience's reaction and understanding. This is how it links to the era. Was this typical behaviour? Was this something that was an issue? What was it? For each quotation, you need to do these things, guys. So you're constantly making sure that you've got everything you need. You've got that really good level of analysis in your work. and how it links to a type of conflict. So then you can, and it doesn't matter in which order you do these. As I said before, when you're pettaling paragraphs, you don't have to do point evidence technique. You can mix and match. You can say, by using a metaphor, Shakespeare argues, and that's your method and your point and why he's doing it, your analysis, all linked into one. It's absolutely fine to do that. This is about good quality writing. If you've just done that punctuation piece, guys, by the way, that will probably help you for this as well. So, and then when you've planned it, you can write your essay. Now, before you get started, I've helped you out just a little bit. So, what I've got here in front of us is essentially a revision clock. So what types of conflict are there and where do we see them? I've split this up into four, one for each type of conflict. I've done it in equal boxes, but if you think there's more external conflict than there is maybe of ideas and beliefs or behavioural norms, then you might want to make that chunk bigger and spend a longer time on it. So take up two sides of your book, take up an A3 double page and do your revision clock. So external conflict, internal conflict, ideas and beliefs, and behavioral norms. And it's up to you how big you make these. It's up to you. Okay. So I might do one and then draw a line and then do another and then draw a line after you think that you've finished that segment. Okay. You might end up with two small ones and two big ones. It's entirely up to you. I would spend a good long while researching this and doing a lot of revision. You can use the internet to help you. No Fear Shakespeare. You can look at Genius. So if you go to Google and you type in Genius, Romeo and Juliet, that might help you. You might look at GCSE Bite Size. You can analyze your own plays as well. You can ask your friends. You can email me and ask if you're struggling with stuff and you want some help or ideas, or you can tweet me. Anything like that, okay? Because this is a big task on its own before you even get to answering the essay question. This is essentially revision, and it's there not only for now, but for later on, because you want to be able to get to a point where when you are faced with your GCSEs in year 11, you can think, right, okay, if the question is about conflict, I know about 3 different things that I can immediately write about. If the question's about love, I know about 4 different things that I can immediately write about. If the question is about, I don't know, death, there's like 3 different things that I can immediately write about. You need to know this play inside out, okay? Parent and child conflict comes under this as well, guys. So that's probably an external, and behavioural norms and ideas and beliefs. So that one overarching theme can come under 3 different types of conflict. Okay, so yeah, so there's plenty to be writing about. Okay, so then the next thing, and you can either put this as a separate revision clock, or you can amalgamate it into this one, but I put it as a separate one because it's so important, because I wanted you to think carefully about this. So this is remembering, so knowing the play inside and out, finding the quotes and all the rest of it, and this is more about understanding, which is why I split it up, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to. So it says, what was the audience's reaction? What were the messages Shakespeare was sending about the conflict, and how does this link to the Elizabethan era? Now, in this one, you'd need a type of conflict, so external, for example, a quote to support the external conflict, and a method used in that quote. You could then theoretically, under that, so essentially you're almost writing your essay. It's just, notes form that you are then going to have to put into sentences. The audience's reaction for each one, the message about conflict, and a link to the era. Now, I'm not saying for every single one you will have all of these 3 things, but you should have at least one. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope you're sitting there nodding your head. So these are the ideas then. You can either amalgamate this into the previous one, or you can do it separately. It's with the quotes. It's entirely up to you. Okay? But it will help you if you do a good job at this. This will take you ages. When my year 11s who've just left did this took them 2 hours to do. So don't think that you can just breeze through this. It's not something that's to be done quickly. It's something that's to be done well. Okay? So that's what we're aiming for. You've got 2 of these. It's up to you how you do them, but it needs to make sense to your future self when you come back to this and you revise it when you're in year 11. So this is your question. It absolutely must be submitted. Type it up, put it in the submissions folder, type it up, attach it to an email. If you're putting it in the submissions folder, you must put your name as part of the document title. I will not know whose it is otherwise, and I will not be able to mark it. Okay? This is difficult. If you've got to the end of this is your last lesson on Romeo and Juliet. I might do a couple of quizzes and stuff over the summer for you to keep it fresh and what have you. If you've got to the end of this before the whatever date it is next, what date is it next Friday? Before the 17th, which would be the last day of term, well done. If you've got to this in the last week, I don't know if you can see this clock. If you've got this into the last week of term, well done, you're on track. If you're still working on this in August, as long as it's done before September, it's okay, but the sooner you can do it, the better, and the more holiday you'll have. Okay, so this is hard work. If you want help with the planning and research of your essay, your assessment essay, this is the grade we take forward, and grades that we take forward are even more important now after all of this has happened than ever before. So please make sure you are trying hard on this. This does not mean you can copy from the internet. I know you're writing, and if I think you have copied, I will Google sentences. And if it comes up, I will give you another question for which you have no preparation for, and you'll be sat doing it in a detention. Do I make myself clear? Good. Right. So this is hard work. Don't rush it. But when you come to do your actual essay, do not allow yourself any more than 45 minutes. That is what you would have in the exam. Set your timer on your phone. Set a proper egg timer if you've got one in the kitchen. Do not give yourself more than 45 minutes. You are doing yourself a disservice if you do. If you get extra time though, give yourself that extra time and use it. But for those of you who don't, it's 45 minutes. And if you finish in the middle of a sentence, you finish in the middle of a sentence. Because that is what will happen at year 11. You need to get into the habit of being able to practice this. As usual, you can tweet me, you can email me. Please stay safe. Like and subscribe for the channel. And I'm not joking this time, because if I put stuff up over the summer to prepare you for next year, you don't want to miss it. I miss you. Please stay safe. Wash your hands 2 meters apart and all that jazz, please. Thank you, and I will see you in September.